All right, well, again, this isn't my story, this is Jesus' story. This wise theologian once said, and I like to quote this a lot, I quote a lot, you know, each of our stories, and with each person we meet, we become a part of their stories. And the God of this universe has woven together these millions of stories into one story, the greatest story ever told. So this is just like what Jesus does with the world. Well, here's my story. I know a lot of you guys could probably relate to it. So I was born in the USSR, a communist country. No, like seriously, and I left the USSR in 1990 before the wall came down. Officially, we were like some kind of like, I don't know, political or something like, you know, we got out the government and we weren't supposed to, but like, you know, we got the Catholic Church to help us out. So like, we actually were pretty well off in Russia. We had like 3-story house, like 2 cars, which during communist was like pretty good, you know? And so like, I'm like, and then we moved to Los Angeles, America. And we live in Northeast Hollywood, and we move in and there's a bunch of bullet holes in my house. And I'm like, why did we move here? Right? And I'm like, we were way better off over there. We had more money. Everything was, my parents had a better job, and now we're living in the ghetto. And so in my mind, they say, you know, we want to raise a good Christian home, and we want to, you know, like teach Jesus to our children. And so in my mind, Christianity was really important. Like, okay, yeah, Christianity is up there, like it's amazing. And so I kind of grew up in the church, went, you know, did the good things. When I was 8, a man came and he started preaching about hell and said, unless you come up and repent, you're going to hell. And I actually got scared. And so I remember like, I need to get up there. Like I went up there, you know, I you know, did the little prayer, you know, but much things didn't change in my life. My mom constantly like forced me to pray all the time. I remember going to school and she's like, Dimitri, pray. You have to pray with me. And so I would pray. And so I slowly started seeing the Lord work in my life through prayer. But at the same time, once I hit like junior year of high school, I started running with a lot of bad friends. I joined the basketball team, and all my friends were, you know, wannabe gangsters. I was one of those wannabe gangsters in a tall tee, Jordan shorts, you know, and, you know, we shoplift, we fought all the time. I was getting in fights after school all the time, coming home with bruises, black eyes, and my mom's like, what happened? I hit a tree, you know, and I hit a lot of trees, you know, it just happened. And so a lot of things were going wrong. I started failing all my classes. My parents were arguing with me. Like we were not longer cool. There was no good relationship at home. And I noticed all my friends were fake. Like a lot of them were just like starting really back out. Like they were like, oh yeah, I got you, man, I got you. But then when something go down, they never had me. In fact, they were like isolating themselves from me. So like I was getting really frustrated with everything. I remember that night, one evening after school, we went to Fred Meyer, and you know, CDs were still really popular. We got a backpack full of CD players, you know, and we were running, and the security guard was running after us. And I remember I was running, and he was like right next to me, and I saw a bush full of sticker bushes. I just jumped in the middle of that sticker bush thing. And he didn't jump in after me, you know? But I pushed myself through those sticker bushes, came home, my hands were all bloody. And I remember just like, dang, everything's going wrong. Like, I don't know, like everything's wrong. And I mean, I had been praying before with my mom, so I remember that night I literally just cast out all my frustration and just said, Jesus, like, I'm messing up and I need you. I keep trying to do it, but everything's going wrong. Can you please fix it, you know? Just crying out with just like a little cry out. And things just changed at like that moment. I remember like feeling like I was just crying, so upset, like, oh, just like calm down. And I remember like literally seeing Jesus like hugging me. And at that moment I was just like, dang, things started changing. Like I didn't want to hang out with those friends anymore. Like, you know, I still played on the basketball team in school. I'd say like what's up to them in the hallways, but I didn't go hang out with them no more. And things just started slowly changing. And my sister Olga, some of you guys know, a very big part of my testimony, she pursued me just like Jesus pursued me. And she said, hey Dimitri, like you need to start getting this Bible together. I'm like, all right. And so she's like, hey, there's this conference coming up, you know, like we need to go. And I'm like, all right, like if my work lets me get it off, I'll go, you know. And I go to my work and they're like, no, there's no way you can get it off. I'm like, okay, I'm not going. And I come in the next day and they're like, oh, by the way, you're fired. And I'm like, what? It's a union job, so they can't just fire people, you know? And they're like, yeah, you called in sick 3 times within this year and you were late twice. I'm like, I've called in sick once. That's false. And they like showed me the days and I had like stubs from that day, so I knew they were wrong. So I call my like union representative, like, hey, what's going on? He's like, oh, you got your job back whenever you want. I'm like, whenever I want? I'm about to go to this conference and I'm gonna come back and, you know, go to work when I want. So I go to this conference and, you know, it was the first day the first time in my life I heard the doctrine of depravity, that we're all completely sinful, hating God and not wanting anything to do with it. And as the preacher kept talking about it, I just had no excuse. I was like, that's me. Like, I still keep hating God. Like, I don't know why I just choose everything over him. And then the next day, C.J. Mahaney spoke, and he spoke about how God literally stops people in their path. And I can go on and on for different things throughout my life where I literally tried to do what I want and I saw God stopping me from doing it. And it just shocked me because I was like, wow, this is in the Bible? Because I've seen it happen in my life. Dang, like this is real. So I remember coming home and for the first time I read the Bible and I was like, this is what Paul's talking about? It actually makes sense for once. So I started reading my Bible, understanding it. Then my sister's like, yo, you need to go on a mission trip. You know, I'm like, okay, like if I can get work off. I ended up losing that job too. Anyways, I ended up going on a mission trip and like, I'm sitting there and like we're preparing and it's like no one, this church, I don't know anyone there. And they're all like friends and cliquey and I'm like, okay, I'm a little older than most of the people, I don't know anyone. And I remember I was just sitting there and we were like told to write a letter to God and I wrote like a little rap. And I went over to there and I'm in Montana, right? Like white place. And these like, as soon as I get off the bus, these 3 white kids come up to me like wearing all Tupac. And I'm just like, you guys like rap? They're like, yeah. Like, I'm like, oh, do you? And I'm like, well, I like good rap. Like, what do you mean good rap? I'm like, oh, like good rap, you know, like Shai Lin, Timothy Brendo, like, and so next thing you know, like I ended up like rapping out this verse to them, and they're all suddenly like, dang, tell me about Jesus. So I tell them, you know, and then all suddenly like they're like, I'm getting so excited, I'm going around like telling people about Jesus, and like my life starts changing, right? And I'm just like, everything in my life starts changing. I remember like I'm coming home even before the mission trip, and I'm driving home and I get this, my friend calls me like, yo, we're about to ball. I'm like, oh, that's what's up. Like, I'm about to go ball. Like, I'm so excited, you know? And then I hear like, in my mind, like, hey, it'll be really exciting to go home and read the Bible. I'm like, that's not that exciting, you know? But then like, no, it'll be pretty exciting. And I don't know why. The second time I'm like, it could be. And so I called my friend like, hey, I can't make it. I got to do something. I went home, I read the Bible instead of play basketball. And I was like, man, that was really fun. Like, it was really weird. Like, I saw my life start changing. Like, things that I normally hated, I started liking. Things that, like, I was really passionate about liking weren't as important anymore. And it wasn't me, but, like, throughout time, I saw Jesus literally just changing me without, like, me even, like, wanting to, like, you know? But after he's doing it, oh, I'm glad he did. Like, oh, that's way better. Like, oh, that's cool. I'm down. Like, and you know, and that's kind of my story. Like, we believe in the Bible that when Jesus comes into your life, when you commit that you're a sinner, that you've messed up, you've done wrong against him, and you ask him like any type of prayer, like Jesus is a father and he just wants you to cry out and pray and just say, hey, I know I never talked to you before, but I messed up. Can you help me? And unlike earthly fathers, he's way better. He just wants to help you. And the Bible says that when he comes in your heart, he starts changing it. He starts transforming you, making you a new creation, and your life starts changing. So like things that like me, like I was like, that's weird, but it started changing, and things in my life started changing. And so that's basically the story of my life. Like right now, like I still struggle with sin. I'm not perfect, but God is still changing me. Like right now, over this last week, I've been really realizing that it's not about me, because like I was getting really upset that like, hey, there's so many events going on during the summer that I'm missing. Because like I'm involved in like a church ministry like for middle school, and I'm doing Alki worship. I'm like, man, I can't do nothing this summer. I was gonna go camping, I was gonna go hiking, take some nice pictures. I was all excited, but now I'm like, oh, I can't do that, I can't do that. And I was getting so upset. And I realized all I was caring about is myself. And so God's been changing me, saying like, yo, it's not about you. You know, it's not your story, it's Jesus' story. And if you guys want to talk, like, I know there's a grip of believers, like some new people I met over here today, you know, that has similar stories where God changed them, and he's been rewriting their story. And so I invite any of you guys that don't know Jesus, you know, to like come to him, have him rewrite your story, because it's way better, way cooler, and that's what's up.